Fire. It comes as President Trump says he will also issue an executive order to authorize sanctions on Turkey. Just 1 week after President Trump's own move deciding to pull U.S. forces from a key part of Syria. Turkey then moving in to target U.S. allies, the Kurds. Now with the operation spiraling, President Trump now talking about those sanctions against Turkey. Also tonight, what about U.S. troops now caught in the region? How to get them out safely, and Martha Raddatz standing by on that. In other news this Monday night, growing outrage after a woman is killed by police in her own home. Tonight, the officer has resigned. Authorities apologizing. How did this happen? The deadly hotel collapse in New Orleans. Tonight, the search for one continuing. More than 100 construction workers were inside at the time of the collapse. News tonight in the impeachment inquiry, a former White House official testifying behind closed doors today. And then all eyes on the U.S. ambassador to the EU, who was exchanging text messages with another diplomat about the hundreds of millions in U.S. aid being held. What he's expected to reveal about a conversation with President Trump. The urgent hunt tonight, the 3-year-old kidnapped from a birthday party. The FBI now involved, saying she is in extreme danger. Drenching rains, flash flood worries, a major system moving across the south and then right up into the northeast. And the alarming new headline tonight involving the deadly Triple E virus.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us here to start another week. And we begin tonight with the breaking news. Just moments ago, the White House revealing President Trump has called Turkey's President Erdogan and has asked for an immediate ceasefire. After President Trump himself just 1 week ago announced he was pulling U.S. troops out of a key area of Syria, Turkey then moving in quickly. The president demanding that immediate ceasefire in the offensive against America's allies, the Kurds. President Trump says he will also issue an executive order to authorize sanctions on Turkey. And tonight, major concern now about pulling U.S. troops out of the region with Turkey's forces already there, and now Syrian forces closing in on the border too. And now in need of new allies, the Kurds striking a deal with Syrian President Assad. They say they had no other choice. ABC's Ian Pannell in the region on the breaking news, leading us off.
Tonight, the unraveling chaos in parts of Syria. 1,000 U.S. troops ordered out. Now men and munitions on the move to the border. But it could take weeks before American forces are out. And while they wait to extract, the dangers grow. 2 large armies now potentially facing off around the strategic town of Manbij, and American forces hunkered down nearby but preparing to depart. The Kurds, until days ago our allies in the fight against ISIS, now celebrating the arrival of Syrian military forces, hoisting soldiers high, brandishing images of the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, the leader of a brutal regime that's bombed and gassed its own people, now the saviour of the Kurds, who chant his name. And on the other side, columns of smoke rising from relentless Turkish airstrikes, capturing Kurdish territory. Defiant, President Erdogan saying today his troops won't back down. Now, President Trump announcing sanctions will be imposed.
President Trump made it very clear that the United States is going to continue to take actions against Turkey's economy until they bring the violence to an end. We want an immediate ceasefire.
Now, the radical Islamist fighters Turkey has sent into Syria are accused of horrific violence. Gruesome videos of roadside executions, many too graphic to show. One leading Kurdish political leader, Hevrin Khalaf, dragged from her car and shot in the head. If verified, this is a war crime. As is the targeting of civilians, a convoy packed with civilians and journalists was struck by a Turkish airstrike on Sunday. Bodies and lives shredded in an instant. Heartbreaking scenes from the hospital where the wounded were taken. A young boy in shock. We're civilians and see what they did to us, this man said. We saw the suffering firsthand.
This is one of many hospitals throughout this area that are treating the wounded.
We met Sarah, just 8 years old, playing in the street when a Turkish shell landed, killing her 13-year-old brother. The youngest suffer the most when men make war. The human toll growing by the hour. Tens of thousands have been displaced. Families who now call the desert home. This mother pleading, where can I go with my children? But in war, there's often nowhere safe to hide.
So let's get right back to Ian Pannell. He joins us tonight from Iraq. And Ian, now news of this call from President Trump to President Erdogan, now calling for a ceasefire. And as we all know, it was just a little over a week ago, President Trump talking with Erdogan on the phone then, and then the White House indicating that Turkey was about to move in.
Yeah, that's right, David. I mean, what a difference 7 days makes, right? Originally, the agreement was for US troops to pull back. That triggered a green light for President Erdogan to send his forces across the border. And we've seen the devastation, the death, the destruction that came as a result of that. Now we understand that, first of all, President Trump had a conversation with the general who leads the Syrian Defense Forces. These have been our allies in the fight against ISIS. He asked him to communicate a message to President Erdogan of Turkey. President Trump did that and offered to broker a ceasefire between the two sides. Now, here's the problem. President Erdogan thinks that the SDF, the Kurdish militias, are terrorists, and he says that he absolutely will not negotiate with terrorists. David?
All right, Ian, thank you. And what about those U.S. troops now caught in the region? The Pentagon is now trying to get them out safely. And then, of course, news of this call for a ceasefire tonight. Let's get right to ABC's chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz. And Martha, the president says even after U.S. forces get out of Syria, they will remain in the region to monitor the situation to try to prevent a resurgence of ISIS, with news that so many of these ISIS fighters have now escaped.
That's right, David. There will be a very small contingent of American troops in southern Syria, but they're not really near the ISIS fight. The rest of the American troops, about 1,000, will go to Iraq and be available for anti-ISIS and counterterrorism missions, but without American troops in northern Syria, without influence there, and now without partners, the Kurds, it makes intelligence gathering for potential missions much more difficult. So in many ways, it is even more dangerous for U.S. forces and more likely that ISIS could reestablish itself. David?
Wow, spiraling situation in just a matter of a week. Martha Raddatz, our thanks to you again tonight. And to the other news this Monday evening and the growing outrage in Texas tonight. A woman killed by police in her own home. Body cam video shows an officer outside the house. He'd responded to a call from a worried neighbor about a door ajar. The officer then firing through a window of the house. The officer resigning today, the family accusing him of murder, and ABC's Marcus Moore talked with the family.
Tonight, authorities say the officer at the center of this fatal weekend encounter, where an innocent woman was killed inside her own home,
put your hands up, show me your hands,
is not cooperating with their investigation. The Fort Worth police chief saying after reviewing the video, he would have fired Officer Aaron Dean, but he quit first.
Had the officer not resigned, I would have fired him for violations of several policies, including our use of force policy.
Family members say 28-year-old Tatiana Jefferson was playing video games with her 8-year-old nephew early Saturday morning and had left the front door open to capture some of the breeze. That open door getting the attention of a neighbor who called the department's non-emergency line.
The front doors have been open since 10 o'clock, and I haven't seen anybody moving around.
Police parking around the corner to do a welfare check. In the video, you can see Officer Dean walking around the back of the home, and that he never identified himself as an officer.
put your hands up, show me your hands.
Within seconds, Dean firing that deadly single shot through the window, killing Jefferson in front of her nephew. The shooting comes less than 2 weeks after Amber Geiger, a former officer from the nearby Dallas Police Department, was found guilty for killing Botham Jean inside his home.
No justice, no peace!
With anger growing in the community, Fort Worth city leaders announcing an investigation, but also apologizing for leaking that Jefferson had a weapon in her home, now calling that detail irrelevant. Tonight, Jefferson's family demanding criminal charges.
The fact that she got shot for looking through her own window, it's amazing to me that they could even try to justify it.
It angers me that my sister's not here. She won't even get to see 30.
And Marcus Moore with us live tonight. And I know, Marcus, city leaders are pledging to have an outside agency review the Fort Worth Police Department's policies now. And the chief now saying charges could be filed against that officer who's now resigned?
David, that is what the chief indicated this afternoon. And Dean had been with the Fort Worth Police Department since April of 2018. And the chief also revealed that they have turned this case over to the FBI. They have submitted paperwork for them to review for possible civil rights violations. David?
All right, Marcus Moore tonight. Thank you, Marcus. And next this evening, the deadly hotel collapse in New Orleans. The search for a missing construction worker continues at this hour. And cell phone video showing the moment the hotel under construction came crashing down, killing at least 2 people. More than 100 construction workers were actually inside at the time of that collapse. Authorities are now worried about other buildings in the area that they may also be in danger. Then ABC's Victor Oquendo from New Orleans now.
The building came crashing down without warning.
Oh my God.
The new Hard Rock Hotel in New Orleans under construction, raining concrete and steel on busy Canal Street. This streetcar nearly engulfed in the cloud of dust and debris.
Get to the back.
Those on board narrowly escaping with their lives.
When you stepped off the trolley car, you couldn't see 20 feet in front of you. There was just smoke and debris everywhere.
More than 100 construction workers inside at the time of the collapse Saturday morning. 30 injured, 2 killed, 1 still unaccounted for.
We currently have crews in the building as we speak. They're in there with some search dogs.
Tonight, officials say the structure is still unstable and dangerous, complicating rescue efforts. One of the workers killed, 49-year-old Anthony Magretta. His body recovered late Sunday night. New Orleans mayor vowing not to give up the desperate search for the missing worker and to investigate the cause of the collapse.
This continues to be a rescue mission at this time.
And Victor Oquendo with us live from New Orleans tonight. And Victor, they're still worried about other buildings in the area that might have been damaged in all this?
Yes, they are, David. And tonight we're learning that both of the cranes here at the construction site are unstable. They have pushed everyone further away. Several of these nearby buildings have been evacuated. And making matters worse, there's rain in the forecast tonight that could make this structure even more dangerous. David?
All right, Victor Oquendo in New Orleans tonight. Thank you, Victor. There is news tonight in the impeachment inquiry. A former White House official testifying behind closed doors today, and then all eyes on the U.S. ambassador to the EU later this week, who was exchanging those text messages with another diplomat about the hundreds of millions in U.S. aid to Ukraine being withheld. What he's now expected to reveal about a conversation with President Trump, and then that text message that mentioned no quid pro quo. Mary Bruce on the Hill tonight.
Arriving on Capitol Hill today, the first White House official to testify in this impeachment inquiry, President Trump's former Russia advisor, Fiona Hill. Lawmakers plan to press her on the president's attempts to get Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden and the role of his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, who led that effort.
The arrows continue to point in just one direction, which is that a crime was committed.
On Thursday, lawmakers will hear from the president's ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland. A former Trump mega donor, Sondland worked with Giuliani behind the scenes to carry out Trump's wishes in Ukraine, a country that isn't even in the EU. He's also defended the president against accusations that Trump was withholding nearly $400 million in aid to Ukraine until they agreed to investigate Biden. In text messages turned over to House investigators, America's top diplomat in Ukraine, Bill Taylor, writes, "I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign." Sondland responds, the president has been crystal clear, no quid pro quos of any kind. But according to the Washington Post, Sondland is expected to tell Congress that response was essentially dictated by the president, that he spoke with Trump before replying to Taylor's text and doesn't know whether or not the president was telling the truth. Trump has cited Ambassador Sondland's text to clear himself.
The text message that I saw from Ambassador Sondland, who's highly respected, was there's no quid pro quo. He said that.
Mary Bruce with us live up on the Hill tonight. And Mary, President Trump and Rudy Giuliani, of course, were pushing Ukraine to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter, the business dealings in Ukraine. And now we know that Hunter Biden has given an exclusive interview to our Amy Robach.
And David, in that interview, he is talking about this issue and much more. Hunter Biden over the weekend announced that he is stepping down from the board of a Chinese-backed equity firm, and he is now committing not to work with any foreign entity if his father is elected president.
Mary Bruce with us tonight. Mary, thank you. And again, Hunter Biden with our Amy Robach first thing in the morning on GMA and again tomorrow night right here on World News Tonight. In the meantime, the case making international headlines tonight, the British parents of that teenager accidentally killed by an American diplomat's wife driving on the wrong side of the road, coming to the U.S. now with a message. The mother breaking down before the cameras today after receiving a written apology from the American woman that she says falls short. Here's ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
Tonight, Harry Dunn's parents flying here from England demanding justice, saying that a written apology from the American woman responsible for their son's death is not enough.
7 weeks on, and we've had to do this to get an apology just in writing. That's just wrong. Sorry.
On August 27th, Anne